About 2 years into our marriage, Sarah and I sat down at the kitchen table and finally had the conversation we'd both been stepping around. We had debt, not one number, two separate financial histories we'd never actually put in the same room together, some of it old, some of it recent, all of it with a story attached that neither of us had fully told the other. Neither of us had been hiding anything on purpose. We'd just never had that conversation where everything came out at once, and every couple with combined debt eventually hits that same moment, whether they know it or not. Because here's what nobody tells you before you try to build a debt plan together. The debt isn't the hard part. The conversation is. I'm Mike Miller. What Sarah and I figured out from that conversation changed how we handled every dollar after it. If that hits close to home, be sure to subscribe, because we do this every week. And here's the part most debt advice completely skips. The strategy, refinance, consolidate, pay off, doesn't matter until you've done something most couples have never actually done. Once you see what that is, every debt conversation you've ever had will start to make sense. Here's what's actually happening when couples fight about debt. It's almost never about the interest rate. The average millennial couple in 2026 is carrying over $130,000 in combined debt, credit cards, student loans, car payments, and whatever they brought into the relationship from before they met. That's not one financial situation. That's two financial histories trying to share a checking account. And here's where it gets complicated. Every debt you're carrying has a number on it, but it also has a story. Your student loans aren't just $31,000 at 6.5%. They're the degree you worked 3 jobs for, the city you moved to, the version of your future you bet on. Your partner's credit card debt isn't just $14,000 at 24%. It's the year their income fell apart, the months they chose groceries over minimum payments, the thing they've been ashamed of ever since. When you sit down to build a debt plan without ever talking about any of that, you're trying to solve a math problem that has an emotional engine underneath it. And the emotional engine always wins. Sarah and I found this out the hard way. After we finally put everything on the table, we did what most couples do. We went straight to the strategy. I wanted to consolidate everything into one loan. Sarah wanted to attack the highest rate debt first and leave the older balances alone. We found an app, built a spreadsheet, and had the same argument about it every Sunday for 4 months. The spreadsheet was fine, the math was correct, but we'd skipped the step that makes the plan actually work. We'd never decided what was ours, what was mine, and what was Sarah's. That's not a small thing. That's the whole thing. But here's what nobody tells you about this. You don't need to agree on everything before you start. You just need to do one thing first, and almost no couple does it. Here's the belief that keeps most couples stuck in the debt conversation loop. They think the fight is about the strategy. Consolidate versus payoff, Avalanche versus Snowball, refinance versus leave it alone. So they research, they find articles, they each come to the table with a plan, and then they argue about whose plan is right. The fight isn't about the strategy. The fight is about ownership. Think about it this way. Imagine 2 people trying to merge 2 companies. Both have assets, both have liabilities. Before you can build a combined balance sheet, both sides have to open their books. All of it. The ugly parts too. Without that conversation, you're not building a plan. You're guessing at each other's numbers. And guessing produces arguments, not progress. Sarah and I had to have this conversation. We each came in with our own debt, our own history, our own sense of what was fair, and what we learned was this. The merger has to come before the plan every single time. Here's what that actually looks like. 4 moves in order. Before you pick a strategy, before you open a spreadsheet, before you even Google debt consolidation, do this. Sit down together somewhere comfortable. No phones, no apps, no agenda. And take turns putting every single debt on the table. Not just the balance, the rate, the minimum payment, the history, and the feeling attached to it. Because here's what happens when you only share the numbers. Your partner sees a $14,000 credit card balance and fills in the story themselves, and the story they fill in is almost never the right one. The rule for this session is simple. When your partner shares a debt, you don't respond. You don't offer a solution. You don't say, "We should have talked about this earlier." You listen. Then you share yours, and they listen. When Sarah and I did this, the session took over 2 hours. I learned that some of Sarah's debt had started as a one-time emergency and grown from there. Not from carelessness, from a period where the math simply didn't work. Sarah learned that my debt wasn't just a number to me. It was tied to a decision I'd made about my career that I still felt uncertain about. We'd been talking past each other for months because we didn't actually know each other's full story. But here's where it gets interesting, because knowing the debt is only half of it. Now that everything is on the table, you need to make one decision for each debt. Yours, mine, or ours. This isn't about fairness. It's about clarity. And it's the step most couples either skip entirely or turn into a fight about the past. Yours or mine means one person is responsible for the payments and the plan, but the other person knows about it and supports the timeline. It doesn't mean the other person doesn't care. It means the ownership is clear, so there's no confusion about who's driving. Ours means both names, both incomes. Both people are building the payoff strategy together. This is usually right for debt you took on after the relationship started. Joint credit cards, loans you signed together, debt that grew because of decisions you made as a unit. For us, the debt Sarah brought into the marriage stayed hers in terms of ownership, but the payoff plan became ours because the margin it consumed affected both of us every month. That distinction changed everything about how we talked about it. Here's the part that surprises most couples. Once ownership is decided, the strategy argument almost disappears, because now you're not debating abstract approaches. You're solving specific, named problems with clear owners. That's a completely different conversation. And before you build the payoff plan, there's one more thing you need to do together. Most couples skip it entirely. It's the move that makes the whole plan feel worth finishing. Here's the problem with most debt payoff plans. They're built entirely around what you're running from. The debt, the stress, the minimum payments, they're not built around what you're running toward. And when you're 18 months into a 3-year payoff plan and motivation is low, getting out of debt is not a strong enough reason to keep going. But a specific, shared picture of what your life looks like on the other side, that is. So, before you build the waterfall, each of you answers one question separately, then you share. What does our life look like and feel like the month after our last debt payment? Not will feel relieved. Specific. Do you book a trip you've been putting off for 3 years? Do you finally start the emergency fund that's been sitting at 0? Do you both drop to one job? Does one of you go back to school? Does something in your daily life change that's been quietly eating at you? Write it down, share it, then write one sentence together that captures both versions. My answer? Getting 6 months of expenses in savings so that a bad month never becomes a crisis again. Sarah's? Booking a trip that we'd been saying that someday we'd take for about 3 years now without putting it on a credit card. We combined it, 6 months covered, 1 real trip paid for in cash. That sentence went on our refrigerator. Every time the payoff felt tedious, every time one of us wanted to skip a month, loosen the budget, or just stop talking about it, we had a specific shared answer to the question. Why are we doing this? The payoff plan is the vehicle. The shared future vision is the destination. You need both, or the vehicle sits in the driveway. Here's the kicker, and this is the part that surprises most couples. Now you build the plan, one combined payoff sequence across every debt, regardless of whose name is on the account. You have 2 approaches. Both work. Which one is right depends on your relationship, not just your math. Approach A, the Avalanche. List every debt by interest rate, highest to lowest, put every extra dollar toward the top of the list while paying minimums on everything else. When it's gone, roll that payment into the next one. This is the mathematically optimal approach. On $40,000 in combined debt, the difference between Avalanche and Snowball can be $3,000 to $5,000 in total interest saved. The math is unambiguous. The couple's caveat? The Avalanche only works if both partners can stay motivated through a long stretch without a visible win. If your highest rate debt is also your largest balance, you might go 18 to 24 months before you see your first zero. That wait can quietly erode commitment before the plan gains traction. Choose the Avalanche if your highest rate debt is small enough to eliminate in under 6 months, or if both of you are genuinely driven by math over momentum. Approach B, the Snowball. List every debt by balance, smallest to largest, eliminate the smallest one first. Then roll that payment into the next. Repeat. The math costs slightly more than the Avalanche, typically $1,000 to $3,000 in additional interest on a $40,000 debt load. But a 2016 Journal of Consumer Research study found that eliminating individual debt accounts, hitting zero, drove stronger motivation to keep going than spreading payments across all balances at once. Researchers called it the goal gradient effect. Momentum builds as people approach a concrete finish line. Every eliminated account is one less statement in the mail, one more win you've built together, and the snowball turns a financial plan into a series of shared milestones. Choose the snowball if your payoff timeline is 3 years or longer, and one of you needs early wins to stay committed. How to choose. If your highest rate debt and your smallest balance debt are the same account, Avalanche every time. If they're different accounts, have an honest conversation about which one of you is more likely to lose motivation over a 2 to 3 year timeline. The partner who needs the early win gets the vote. Protecting the relationship's momentum is worth the small interest premium. Here's what it costs to skip this conversation. A couple with $40,000 in combined high-rate debt at 22% APR, making minimum payments, pays roughly $8,800 in interest in the first year alone. After 3 years of minimum payments, they've paid nearly $26,000 in interest, and still owe $37,700. The balance has barely moved, they're not building anything, they're treading water. The Garcias ran this math after their full disclosure session. It was the number that finally made the conversation real. They chose the snowball, Elena's smallest credit card balance first, paid it off in 4 months, then rolled that payment into the next one. Within 18 months, they'd eliminated 3 accounts and freed up $620 a month in minimum payments. That $620 is now going into their investment accounts every single month. Same income, same debt, completely different trajectory. Because they had that one conversation they'd been avoiding. The couple that skips the full disclosure session, that never decides ownership, and just keeps arguing about strategy will still be having that same argument in 5 years, probably with more debt and more resentment underneath it. That's not a debt outcome. That's a marriage outcome. Here's what I want you to hold on to from this. You are not behind because you made bad decisions. You're carrying debt because life is expensive and nobody ever showed you how to merge 2 financial histories into one honest plan. The strategy, Avalanche or Snowball, consolidate or pay off, that's the easy part. You can figure that out in an afternoon. The hard part is the conversation that has to come first. The one where you put everything on the table, the balances, the rates, the stories, the feelings, and the specific picture of what your life looks like when it's done. That conversation is uncomfortable. It might take 2 hours. It might surface things you've both been avoiding. It's also the only conversation that actually moves you forward. Tonight, not next week, tonight, sit down with your partner and get it started. What debt are you carrying that I don't fully understand yet? And then, just listen. If putting everything on the table tonight sounds like exactly what you two need, be sure to hit subscribe and drop a like. We walk through these conversations for couples every single week. You two have got this. Go talk about it tonight.